All right, it is a game day for the Indiana Fever, a Caitlin Clarkless game day, there I say, for the Indiana Fever, man. We got a bunch to get into. I'm going to put this out there right now. I will be live.
Game day for the Indiana Fever, and for the first time in a while, no Caitlin Clark on the floor. She's reportedly out with a back injury, and that one absence turns a routine game into something a lot more revealing. Because the Fever aren't just missing a player tonight. They're about to find out, in public, how much of this whole phenomenon was ever really about them. Stick with me, because the question underneath this game is bigger than the final score.
The Indiana Fever continue to grow off the back of Caitlin Clark while not doing right by her. Here it says, this was posted by the Indiana Fever, first WNBA team to reach 2 million followers on any platform. Shout out to the best fans in the world. Okay, these are Caitlin Clark fans. Let's be real here. The Indiana Fever.
This is the part the franchise doesn't love hearing out loud. The Fever's explosion in attention, the sellouts, the national TV windows, the social numbers the team likes to brag about. Almost all of it traces back to one guard who arrived in 2024 as the most hyped prospect the women's game has ever produced. That's not a knock on the other players. It's the reality of the business. So when the team posts about crossing a follower milestone and thanks the best fans in the world, the fair question is this: are those the franchise's fans, or are they Caitlin Clark's fans who happen to
right? It'll be interesting to see the style of play that they roll out. You know, are they gonna still get up and down? Are they gonna go to the slow, drag them out, ugly style of basketball that Stephanie White tends to lean to?
Now to the basketball, and this is where I'll give you my honest opinion, not a fact. Without Clark pushing tempo, I expect this team to slow way down. Stephanie White is a sharp, accomplished coach, but her offenses have leaned deliberate and grinded out, and a lot of fans find that style a tougher watch after getting used to Clark's pace and range. So one thing I'm watching tonight isn't just whether they win, it's whether the version of basketball they play without her is something casual fans actually.
So I think you can expect Kelsey Mitchell to get up 24-25 shots. Aaliyah Boston will be heavily involved. But it's going to be interesting to see how they look. I'm assuming Raven Johnson will be starting at the point. Ty Harris will probably be backing her up. I think this is ultimately what Stephanie White wanted, though. That's why they really went and got Raven Johnson. They want to see how she looks as a starter with Kelsey Mitchell.
Personnel-wise, expect the offense to run through Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston. Mitchell is a legitimate bucket getter who can carry a scoring load, and Boston is an all-star big who should see a ton of touches as the hub inside. Watch the point guard spot too. If Raven Johnson gets the start, that tells you something about how this staff wants to build around its guards going forward, with or without Clark in the lineup. None of that is an insult to these players. They're good. The question is whether good is enough to hold an audience that showed up for a superstar.
I mean, the key to beating the Sparks is all you got to do is not let Dearica Hamby or Neko Gumake go bonkers and you win the game. You know, you win this game. They don't have enough firepower offensively anymore, especially without Kelsey Plum, without Cameron Brink. They just don't have enough to actually put up enough points to beat you, even without Caitlin Clark.
On paper, this is still a winnable game. Even without Clark, the Fever have enough to handle a Sparks team that's been dealing with absences of its own. So let me say this clearly, because it changes how we read the result. If Indiana wins tonight, it does not prove they're better without Caitlin Clark. Beating a short-handed opponent is what a healthy roster is supposed to do. The real test isn't the win. It's everything around it. The energy in the building, the watchability, whether this team can generate its own gravity.
People think, are y'all rooting for the Sparks? Let's be real here. Are y'all rooting for the Sparks because Caitlin Clark not playing? Hey. I think there's going to be a lot of people rooting for the Sparks. Not necessarily mad at it.
And this is where it gets a little uncomfortable for the league. There's a real chunk of this audience that, with Clark sidelined, would just as soon watch the Fever lose. That's not me endorsing it. It's me describing it. A fan base that built this fast around one player doesn't automatically transfer its loyalty to the jersey. Some of those viewers are Fever fans. A lot of them are Clark fans first, basketball curious second, and the team a distant third. When your star sits, you find out exactly which kind of crowd you built.
I don't think the Indiana Fever organization has done enough to garner the fans to support them without Caitlin Clark. I feel like they have done so much to turn the fans off. They've scammed the fans for money with this whole day-to-day thing they did last year, refusing to get Stephanie White in order, this whole situation with Lynn Dunn and information coming out and all this stuff.
Whether you agree with me or not, that's my read. The front office hasn't given casual fans enough reason to stick around when the marquee name is out. And you can debate the specifics with me. Roster construction, how injuries get communicated to the public, how much the ownership group is investing to build a real contender around Clark rather than simply enjoying the revenue her presence brings in. Those are all fair things for fans to be frustrated about. I'd push back on the harshest versions of that frustration, but the core point holds. A franchise this dependent on one player is a fragile franchise.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I will be live for the game. Would love for you to join me. And I would love to know, are you rooting for the Fever or for the Sparks? Put that in the comments. Get in those comments. Let me know. Just keep the vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel.
So let's zoom out, because tonight is a single game, but it points at something the whole league is going to have to reckon with. The Indiana Fever, as a business, are extraordinarily dependent on one player. That's not a criticism of Caitlin Clark, it's a credit to her. She turned a team most casual fans couldn't name into appointment viewing in under 2 years. But dependence cuts both ways. When the engine of your entire commercial surge is a single young guard, every flicker in her health becomes an existential question for the franchise. One back injury, and suddenly we're all asking whether the building still fills up. That's fragility, and it's worth naming honestly. Now, my opinions on the front office, and I want to be clear these are opinions, not established facts. I think this organization has been handed a generational gift and has been slow to build a sustainable contender around it. I'd like to see more aggressive roster moves, clearer communication when players get hurt, and an ownership group that looks like it's chasing championships, not just counting the revenue that walked in the door. You can disagree with me on any of that, and reasonable people do. But be more ambitious with this opportunity is a fair thing to ask of any team in this position. On the basketball, I'll stand by what I said earlier. If they win tonight, good. That's what a healthy roster does against a short-handed opponent. It won't prove they're better without Clark, and anyone selling you that line is selling you something. The thing actually worth watching is whether this team can be compelling on its own terms, whether the pace, the shot-making, and the energy in the arena survive without their headliner. That's the real exam, and the result alone won't grade it. I also want to say the obvious human thing, because it gets lost in the noise. Clark being hurt is bad for everybody. It's bad for her, it's bad for the Fever, and it's bad for a league riding an unprecedented wave of attention. Nobody who actually cares about the women's game should be glad to see its biggest draw on the bench. Wanting her healthy and wanting the rest of the league to thrive are not in conflict. And that brings me to the part I'd push every one of you on. There's a temptation, when your favorite player sits, to flip into spite, to root for the team to fail just to prove a point. I understand the impulse, I feel it sometimes, but it's a trap. The healthiest version of this fan base is one that came for Clark and stayed for the basketball, that learns to appreciate Mitchell getting buckets and Boston anchoring the paint, that wants the Fever to be good and the Sparks to be good and the whole league to level up. This sport does not grow if its biggest new audience only shows up for one jersey. So here's what I actually want from you in the comments, and I want a real answer, not a reflex. Forget the result tonight. If Caitlin Clark missed 10 more games this season, would you still watch this team? Would you watch the Fever specifically, not Clark, the Fever? Or would you check out until she's back? Be honest with yourself, because your answer is the answer to the question this whole league is quietly asking. If this is the kind of breakdown you want, opinion clearly labeled, no manufactured outrage, just an honest read on where this team and this league are headed, then subscribe and I'll keep them coming. I'll be live before tip, come hang out and let's watch this one together.